guys don't know, yes, the Bugatti has been crashed.
On that chassis number of vehicle, they will not supply any component.
With the right equipment and only a few people in the world with the right training to be able to do that.
A $6 million car.
A $3 million
a manufacturer
Bugatti
worth billions. And one guy from Leicester with a socket wrench who refused to take no for an answer. What you're about to hear is not just a car story. This is the most shocking moment in automotive history. And Bugatti never saw it coming. Think about that for a second. $6 million. That's not a car. That's a private jet. That's a mansion in Monaco. That's the kind of money that makes even billionaires pause. And somehow, someway, it ended up in the hands of a YouTuber who learned mechanics by watching Dad in the garage in Leicester. But here's what nobody knew at the start of this story. This wasn't just about rebuilding a car. This was about to start a war. A war between one ordinary man and an entire industry built on exclusivity, secrecy, and control. And only one of them was going to walk away standing. Let's go back to the beginning. Because to understand why this rebuild shook the entire automotive world, you need to understand exactly what the Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport actually is. This isn't your average supercar. This isn't even your average hypercar. The Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport is one of only 60 ever produced. 60 in the entire world. It has a 16-cylinder engine, 4 turbochargers, nearly 1,500 horsepower pushing through all 4 wheels. Bugatti spent years engineering this machine to be the absolute pinnacle of automotive achievement. Every single component custom-made. Every single part designed specifically for this car and no other. And Bugatti made absolutely sure that if anything ever went wrong with these 60 cars, only they could fix it. Only they had the parts. Only they had the knowledge. Only they had the power. That was the plan anyway. But here's what Bugatti forgot. They forgot about Mat Armstrong. Now, if you don't know Mat Armstrong, you need to understand something about this man before we go any further. Because he is not your typical car rebuilder. He didn't go to engineering school. He didn't train at a manufacturer. He started out as a professional BMX rider, a guy who competed internationally, traveled the world on a bike, and funded his passion by working shifts at his dad's garage. When a shoulder injury ended his BMX career, Matt turned to cars. Not because it was the sensible thing to do, because it was the only thing he loved as much as riding. He taught himself everything. Every mistake made on camera. Every setback shared with his That raw honesty is exactly what built him one of the most loyal audiences on YouTube. Millions of people who watched a regular guy do extraordinary things with wrecked cars. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared anyone for what was about to happen when Mat Armstrong set his eyes on a crashed Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport sitting in a Copart auction yard. The car originally belonged to American influencer Alex Gonzalez, known online as FX Alex G. During a stunt gone wrong, the Bugatti was destroyed. Insurance declared it a total loss. And just like that, one of only 60 Bugatti Chiron Pur Sports ever made ended up on an auction website with salvage title and a price tag that would make most people laugh out loud. But not Mat Armstrong. Matt saw something nobody else saw. He didn't see a destroyed car. He saw the greatest challenge of his career. He saw a story that nobody had ever told before. And he knew, deep in his gut, that if he could pull this off, it would change everything. So he made the call. He bought the car. And the moment he did, the clock started ticking on the most massive automotive showdown in YouTube history. Here's where it starts to get really interesting. Because Mat Armstrong didn't just buy a wrecked car. He bought a problem so enormous, so unprecedented, that even seasoned automotive professionals would have walked away. The damage was severe. But the damage wasn't even the biggest problem. The biggest problem was Bugatti themselves. See, Bugatti operates on a level of exclusivity that most people simply don't understand. They don't just sell you a car. They sell you access to a world where only authorized dealers can touch your vehicle, a world where parts are not available to the public, a world where the manufacturer holds every single card. And when Bugatti found out that their precious Chiron Pur Sport had been purchased by a YouTuber for an independent rebuild, they made a decision that shocked the entire automotive community. They locked the VIN. For those who don't know what that means, let us explain. A VIN is a vehicle identification number. Every car has one. It's the car's identity. When Bugatti locked Mat Armstrong's VIN, they essentially told every single authorized Bugatti dealer in the entire world one thing: do not help this man. Do not sell him parts. Do not give him information. Do not acknowledge this car exists. It was a corporate blacklist. A billion-dollar company using every weapon in their arsenal to stop one man with a spanner. And here's what makes this moment so extraordinary. It didn't work. But before we get to that, you need to understand exactly how far Bugatti went to protect their position. Because this wasn't just a locked VIN. Bugatti reached out directly. They made their position absolutely crystal clear. The official repair quote from Bugatti for this car, $1.7 million. Let that sink in. Not to buy a new car, not to build a new car, just to repair one that already existed. $1.7 million. And when that number was rejected, Bugatti came back with another offer, $600,000. Still rejected. And that's when Bugatti did something that nobody in the automotive world had ever seen a manufacturer do so publicly. They went on social media. Bugatti Rimac CEO Mat Rimac personally responded online, explaining why an independent rebuild of this car was dangerous, why it couldn't be done safely outside of their network, why Mat Armstrong was, in their view, making a mistake. It was a massive moment. The CEO of one of the most exclusive car brands in the world, personally commenting on a YouTuber's project, and the internet absolutely exploded. But here's what nobody knew at that moment. Behind the scenes, Mat Armstrong was already working, already sourcing, already solving problems that Bugatti said were unsolvable. See, when you lock a VIN and cut off the part supply, you expect the person on the other end to give up. You expect them to look at the wall you've built and walk away. But Mat Armstrong had spent his entire career turning walls into doors. And this wall, as enormous as it was about to become the most famous door in automotive history. The sourcing process alone was enough to make even the most experienced mechanics shake their heads in disbelief. Genuine Bugatti parts, impossible to buy through official channels, had to be tracked down through private sales, salvage yards, overseas contacts, and networks that most people didn't even know existed. Every single component was a battle. Every single part was a story. And Mat Armstrong documented every single moment of it, because that's who he is. He doesn't hide the struggle. He puts the struggle on camera, and he invites you to watch him fight through it. And millions of people did exactly that. Every upload pulled in view after view after view. Comments flooded in from around the world. Mechanics, engineers, Bugatti enthusiasts, casual viewers who had never watched a car video in their lives. Everyone was watching. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. Could he actually do it? Now, let's talk about the moment that genuinely changed everything. Because there was a specific point in this rebuild where the tension reached an almost unbearable level. A point where even Mat Armstrong's most loyal supporters started to wonder if this was finally the project that beat him, the radiator. That radiator became the symbol of everything difficult about this rebuild. Complex beyond anything Mat had worked on before. Damaged in ways that required solutions that didn't exist in any manual. And surrounded by a cloud of controversy that had the entire comments section divided. Some blamed the damage on decisions made during the rebuild process. Some blamed outside factors. And Mat Armstrong, to his absolute credit, stood in front of the camera and addressed every single accusation directly. No hiding, no deflecting. Just pure unfiltered honesty from a man who had nothing to prove and everything to lose. That moment, that specific moment of transparency, is exactly what separates Mat Armstrong from every other content creator in the automotive space. Anyone can rebuild a car. Not everyone can rebuild their credibility in real time on camera while the entire internet watches. And then came the airbag controversy. Because just when you thought this rebuild couldn't get any more dramatic, it did. During the rebuild process, Mat Armstrong made the decision to use Audi A3 airbags in the Bugatti Chiron, and the internet predictably lost its mind. How could you put Audi A3 airbags in a $6 million Bugatti? What kind of decision was that? Was this safe? Was this acceptable? Was this the moment that proved Bugatti right? But here's what the critics didn't know. Here's what the comments section missed completely. Bugatti and Audi share a parent company, the Volkswagen Group. And within the Volkswagen Group, safety components, including airbags, are shared across multiple platforms. The airbag in a Bugatti Chiron is not handcrafted by Swiss monks in a mountain laboratory. It comes from the same supply chain as components in other VW Group vehicles. Mat Armstrong knew this, and when he explained it clearly, calmly, with evidence, the argument collapsed. But the damage to public perception had already been done, and navigating that damage, while simultaneously completing the most complex rebuild of his career, is something that deserves far more respect than it has ever received. Because here's the thing about Mat Armstrong that this entire story reveals. Every single obstacle in this build, the locked VIN, the parts blacklist, the CEO's public statement, the radiator drama, the airbag controversy, every single one of them would have ended most people. Most people would have sold the car, taken the loss, moved on. But Mat Armstrong treated every obstacle as content, every problem as a chapter, every controversy as an opportunity to show the world exactly who he was. And the world responded. Millions of views, hundreds of thousands of new subscribers, mainstream media coverage, industry publications that had never written about a YouTuber suddenly running full features on Mat Armstrong and what his rebuild meant for the future of supercar ownership. Think about what that means for every supercar owner watching this right now. Think about what it means for every independent mechanic who has ever been told they can't touch a certain car. Think about what it means for the entire concept of ownership itself. When you spend $6 million on a car, do you own it? Really own it? Or do you just have permission to use it until the manufacturer decides otherwise? Mat Armstrong looked at that question and answered it with a torque wrench. And the answer he gave reverberates through the entire industry to this day. Now let's talk about where the story ends. Because the ending of this rebuild is not a quiet moment. It is not a subtle conclusion. It is the kind of finish that makes you sit back, shake your head slowly, and feel something that is very difficult to put into words. After months of work, after every obstacle, every controversy, every corporate roadblock, after Bugatti's locked VIN, and refused parts and CEO statements and public criticism, after all of it, Mat Armstrong finished the car. The Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport ran. It drove. It moved under its own power. And in that moment, everything that Bugatti said couldn't be done outside of their network was proven wrong. Not aggressively, not arrogantly, just quietly, definitively, undeniably wrong. The car ran, and the industry that tried to stop it had nothing left to say. The legacy of this rebuild is still being written. Mat Armstrong's channel continues to grow. The conversation around right to repair continues to evolve. And somewhere in Bugatti's headquarters, there are people who look at this story and understand that the world changed, that the relationship between manufacturers and owners changed, that the era of absolute corporate control over what you can and cannot do with your own property is ending. And it ended, at least in part, because one man refused to give up on a car that everyone else had written off. If this video gave you something today, if it made you feel even a fraction of what Mat Armstrong felt standing next to that finished Bugatti, then do one thing right now. Hit that like button. Drop a comment below telling us whether you think Mat Armstrong changed the automotive industry forever. And if you are not yet part of the Cars Facto family, subscribe right now and turn on notifications because we cover every Mat Armstrong story, every supercar scandal, and every automotive moment that the rest of the world is still trying to catch up with. We will see you in the next one. So here we are, at the end of a story that started with a crashed car in a Copart auction yard and ended with something that nobody, not Bugatti, not the industry, not even Mat Armstrong himself, could have fully predicted when this journey began. But before we close this chapter, we need to talk about what this rebuild actually means. Not just for Mat Armstrong, not just for supercar enthusiasts, but for every single person watching this right now who has ever been told that something was impossible. Because that is ultimately what the story is about. Impossibility. And what happens when the right person decides they simply don't believe in it? Let's be completely honest about what Mat Armstrong was up against. This was not a difficult rebuild. Difficult would be an insult to what this actually was. This was a rebuild that a billion-dollar manufacturer declared impossible outside of their own network. This was a car with a locked VIN, a blacklisted identity, a part supply that had been deliberately cut off at the source. This was a project that the CEO of Bugatti Rimac personally commented on publicly, not to offer support, not to offer advice, but to explain to the world why it couldn't be done. When the person running one of the most exclusive automotive brands on the planet takes time out of their day to address your YouTube project, you are not dealing with a normal situation. You are dealing with something that has genuinely rattled the foundations of an industry. And Mat Armstrong rattled those foundations not with lawyers,